First off, disclaimer. I'm hoping to receive a video response in the form of a link in the comments below in which somebody points to a demonstration about how this has all been done before and how easy and self-evident it is, and that I'm making much ado about nothing. Now, the Swans are one of the embarrassingly many bands that I got into as a kid without really getting into them. I heard they were associated with Sonic Youth back in the early days, the Confusion is Sex, Kill Your Idols era, my favorite era of Sonic Youth. And I went out and bought some of their records, whatever I could find used on vinyl at Encore or Wazoo Records in Ann Arbor. And I put them on and I thought, oh, that's cool. Now I know what the Swans sound like. And then I put them on the shelf and never really felt the compulsion to listen to them that much. And this has happened to me with so many great bands, legendary bands. Joy Division, Minutemen, Melvins, all kinds of stuff where it's like, oh, I like every individual aspect of the band. Can't think of anything negative about the band that no critique points or like this and like that, but somehow there's songs like Don't Speak to Me or something, or, you try to get into it and it's like, oh, I like it, but it's not really stuff the great songs that really speak to me. Such diligent yet frustrating attempts to get into bands that ultimately inevitably prove fruitless make me question the nature of free will. You know the feeling. When you like it, you understand the historical significance and its relevance in the development of independent underground rock, and yet you just don't really listen to it that much. But recently I had a revelation in which I was handed a piece of the code. It was like stumbling across a piece of a puzzle that you had been playing with as a 16-year-old and long since discarded, suddenly appearing in your hand. A few weeks ago, ago, I chanced across a channel called Every Album Ever, in which two incredibly avid music nerds, guys who are in bands and write songs themselves, go into incredible detail analyzing every song on every album of all sorts of bands, both legendary and obscure, with a heavy focus on post-punk and noise rock. And of course they did The Swans. In a 3-parter, took them 3 videos way over 2 hours each to go through their entire discography, and then later they got Michael Gira himself to talk to them on the phone. And right off the bat, they were marveling over how deliciously atonal their sound was. Songs in which the guitar and bass were so indiscernibly atonal that the riff of the song itself was carried by the drums. That is, the drums were more recognizable as playing notes than anything in the guitar stringed instrument domain that they were doing. Such was their enthusiasm that I decided to myself, okay, I'm going to have to take a break from this video and put on Filth in its entirety. And mere seconds into the first song, Stay Here, it just clicked with me. This is it. This is true noise rock. And then I went back to the analysis on Every Album Ever, and at that moment was handed the piece of the code. It was incredibly simple how they were doing it. He said he saw Michael Gira in an interview talking about how he did it, and it was simple. 2 bass guitars, drop D, staircase chord. The diminished fifth. That's all there was. Oh, the dissonant chord. The Locrian mode. The devil's interval. They were just banging around on stuff like that and making it sound completely awesome. This frustrated me because not only is it far from a secret that the diminished fifth is the dissonant interval that you throw in to gnarly up your sound and make it into noise rock. It's also something I'd been trying as a kid, messing around with stuff in the, early vain efforts to create stuff that would be like noise rock, right? I was proud of myself as a 16-year-old when I made up this. And I had a couple other ones, diminished fifths. information that they were doing most of it on bass, with two bass guitars, I guess, going kind of like this. Didn't come as that much of a surprise, because I'd already tried stuff like that when I was a kid too, in my earliest attempts at making a two-piece band, where I assumed that bass plus drums would sound more rockin' than guitar plus drums alone when you're kids messing around in a basement. And I'll nominate this as my official Swans bass, by the way. The no-name Japanese jazz master clone, presumably from the 70s lawsuit era, that I'll pretend is an unlabeled Ibanez. Probably not. It says made in Japan if you take out the neck, though, and it has 6 screws here. What could it be? It's also predominantly plywood. A mystery, but it seems like something the Swans would have in the early days when they were living in the bunker and said they had absolutely no money to eat. Because I got this for €50 in 2002 on my first really long stay in Germany. And besides, it's kind of cliche now how the diminished fifth is used in all kinds of subgenres of music just to be like scary, like all kinds of doom and stuff, and Marilyn Manson doing like a... Anyway, all kinds of people use it all the time, and it's like, what are the Swans doing to sound so awesome if that's their whole secret? Staircase chord, 2 basses, drop D. It also raises all these questions about the true definition of atonality, because the diminished fifth is a totally recognizable tone. It's just the interval, you got your consonant normal root fifth octave power chord, drop the fifth by 1/2 step, and it turns into the dissonant chord. And if dissonance itself is the definition of atonality, I don't see why this wouldn't be the dissonant chord. Just like 0, 1. What's that, a diminished second? A diminished first? I don't know what you call it, because it never comes up in real music. If I were forced to define atonality, I would say something more like no recognizable notes whatsoever. And trying to figure out, if you can play it, it's a chord, it's a note, right? So I'm trying to think, like, what are the Swans might be doing that's making it truly atonal? And I was thinking, maybe they're using their violence, their predilection for power, and just smacking all the strings with an open hand. Like, hitting all of the strings together in the dissonant Locrian staircase chord that makes all the notes like blend together in a big mush. But still, you can hear the notes. And this led me way off into the weeds, where I started thinking about, like, if true atonality means no recognizable notes, then this has got to be one of the only sounds in guitar that you can get that's truly atonal without even having the flippin' guitar. And then, even further out in the weeds, Does this constitute a tone? It was then that I realized I just might have to abandon the quest for true atonality. And opt instead for a reimagining of the Swans. Imagine a world in which these bargain basement beauties from Harley Benton had been available in the days of Cop and Filth. Like this Harley Benton Classic Series JA baritone that I got for €198 with a 30-inch scale length. Just think of what the Swans could have done with this. And keep in mind that the baritone guitar as we know it today was barely available back in the days of Cop and Filth. And the ones that were so sought after that they were collector's items practically out of reach. But this Harley for under $200 was well within reach to these denizens of the bunker. And its PRC provenance puts it squarely within the Swans' sphere of interest, hailing from a country in which workmen's rights, if any, are so scant that one can truly imagine associations with greed and songs with certain titles. Seven strings? Wood. Even incredibly unsexy multi-scale newfangled fan-fretted 7 strings? Possibly. For I will risk committing the sin of assuming shit and venture that the early Swans not only did not care about retro appeal in the way that the later Sonic Youths most certainly did, the hideousness may have appealed to them. And the misanthropic forced labor aspect of their PRC provenance most certainly did. The gear I hold in my hands was purchased within the last 5 years for a grand total of 206 heavily depreciated units of Euro fiat currency. When converted into 1984 United States dollars, this amounts to a grand total of 76.22. At prices like that, I don't think the purportedly poverty-stricken early-day Swans could afford to get finicky over aesthetics. Especially not when you can do this and drop it into 7-string Norman Westberg tuning. 1/4 down. Yeah, I think if they could get 7 strings this cheap back then, they totally would have done it. Or this shockingly affordable 7-string bass, the BZ7000. Just think of what kind of diminished staircase chords you could do on that. 7,000. You can still get it for 600 euro fiats right now. And in US fiats, that's 701. And in 1984 US dollars, that comes to a grand total of 222.96, which admittedly was an unimaginable sum of money for me back then because I was 5. And that got me to thinking, with all the possibilities for infinite staircase chords on the 7-string bass, do you think if Michael Gira could have gotten one like this for this kind of money back in 1984, do you think he could have started the Swans as a 2-piece band? Because I heard in the early days he had a lot of trouble communicating with his vision of the Swans with other musicians, like getting them to like play down to the required level of primitiveness, which can be a problem even in the best of times, because people tend to overplay, right? And then Michael Gira didn't have like a whole bunch of YouTube links to send, reference material from what kind of sound he's going after, and I myself now am having trouble explaining why I like the Swans, and a lot of music that was obviously inspired by the Swans or indirectly inspired by the Swans, or the 6 Degrees of Michael Gira. Just doesn't do anything for me, or it's okay, but a lot of doom and sludge and stuff, and it's like, I go to those shows, it's fun, but I mean, it's just not like my thing at all. But I was wondering, like Michael Gira, like him and a drummer and a 7-string bass that he got for $222 in 1984 and 96 cents. Does that sound plausible to you? To make matters worse, we must continue down this rabbit hole after a revelation revealed by the guitarist Norman Westberg himself. In an interview on the highly recommended, noteworthy, noise rock-oriented talk show Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal, he handed us another piece of the code. His tuning, for it was not a regular drop D at all. Oh yeah, I just flatted the E string down to D sharp and then tuned the G string up to G sharp. So, that was quite a revelation to me, at least, because I've never heard of this tuning, and I was just trying to imagine what he's actually doing. Now, I know you can find tabs to Swan songs from Cop and Filth on interwebs, and they're interesting. They sound like they might be accurate, but I don't know. I'm not trying to cover their songs anyway. I'm just trying to figure out what they're doing. And with this D sharp and G sharp thing, I wonder what he's really doing. In the interview, he just said, oh yeah, I made every chord totally crazy. So, what kind of chords was he playing? I mean, was he doing campfire chords? Or was he just barring it? Maybe so. Yeah, with that sharp G, it does sound pretty disturbing, doesn't it? And this got me to thinking yet even deeper on the rabbit hole where I was thinking, like, okay, so the bass is in drop D, the guitar is in D sharp. Maybe they're deliberately playing out of tune from each other. That's where the true atonality comes from. What do you think? Because if two guys deliberately a half step out, maybe the two basses are also out of tune from each other. Maybe they're all playing a half step apart, and that's what makes it truly atonal. I'm also surprised that total detuning wasn't part of their main thing, because I found I had the best results on this detuned Harley Benton guitar bass with really slack strings, where I just kind of tuned them down. This is a big part of it. See that string flopping around? And Sonic Youth, I always thought of the Swans as being Sonic Youth adjacent, to use the current parlance, but it wasn't until I just rediscovered Cop and Filth that I realized it's gotta be the other way around, because Michael Gira, it sounds like he informed their sound way more than they influenced him, because everybody knows, like, he wrote the lyrics to The World Looks Red, and then Confusion is Sex and Kill Your Idols are the only two releases they had that are both, like, consistently on the dark side, and at times legitimately scary sounding, not evil, but scary sounding, yes, and dark, definitely. And maybe that's just from hanging out with Michael Gira. Needless to say, this incredibly long-winded rant on the Swans' dissonant sound and how they get it is just one piece of music nerd minutia in their legendarily glorious saga, but you gotta call it somewhere, and if you've stuck with me this long, I truly thank you from the bottom of my blackened heart. But I would be happy to rant and rave about more later period Swan stuff too, and the solo works of Jarboe, because all of this stuff, I mean, they were getting totally different expanses of guitar soundscapes, which I'd be delighted to nerd out and analyze and try to figure out and stuff. But I think we've reached the point where it is time to regale you with the all-round carefree outro in the style of Norman Westberg. Bye.